Hi everybody, hello. I cannot believe we are already heading into 2025, but that does mean that I get to finally share a new trends video here on my channel, which I'm so excited about because I am someone that really does love a trend. Like, I love changing up things every now and then, and when I create these videos, it is not at all a reason for you to have to change things. There's no reason for you to have to change things at all. This is just a little bit of insight on what you might be seeing throughout the next year from retailers, from your favorite designers, from content creators, and also because this is my channel, the Lone Fox channel, I am focusing on my favorite trends, or the trends that I think are going to be super cool, super hot in 2025. I did go through some of the top websites that discussed trends, but something I will say is that I feel like from a lot of the publications, there's not many trends that feel new or fresh. However, I feel like there definitely are some trends that are new and fresh that I'm going to be talking about in this video. So yes, I have 9 different trends that I'm going to be talking about in this video. A lot of these are super adaptive trends as well. They're not like full space changes or full style changes, if that makes sense. It's like small little things you can add here and there that just seem to be trending in the interior design space. So let's get started. This first one here is probably my favorite and the one that I really want to talk about the most. That's why I'm putting it at the beginning of this video, and that is Western influences, because I have seen so much Western, cowboy, Southwestern influence in interior design over the past like couple of months. I've also just been feeling like I've been picking up on it a little bit, especially when it comes to fashion. We just had a humongous craze of like that very cowboy, cowgirl, rodeo, Western aesthetic. And I feel like that's starting to make its way into interior design, as do a bunch of fashion trends. I also feel like that's kind of how the bow trend made its way into interior design. It sort of started in clothing and kind of that coquette style of clothing and transitioned into interior design. And now we're kind of seeing this Western influence, which I really like because I'm actually from a small little farm town. I lived there for the first 17 years of my life. It's called Tehachapi, California. I don't know if any of you guys have ever heard of it. It's like the middle of nowhere. It is essentially horse town. Everyone has horses there. So to me, I was never like in that cowboy equestrian vibe, but I lived in that environment. So it kind of feels a little nostalgic to me. And when I say Western influences, you can kind of go all the way from just dabbling a little bit to full on like direct Western influences. I've been seeing designers putting saddles in bedrooms and putting saddles like as decorative accents in living rooms. Saddles have also been turned into mirrors. We're definitely gonna see a bunch of horses, whether it be in paintings, like horse little figurine statues, could be embroidered in pillows, whatever it is. But then all the way to the materiality of like the South as well, in terms of using rustic woods and barn woods and kind of having that country farm style kitchen that feels a little bit more Western and Southern as well. And incorporating American style furniture and shaker style pieces and pieces that have just a lot of patina and charm to them. Primitive style and folk art pieces as well that kind of have that Western touch and flair to them are also really, really popular right now. I feel like they're being sought after in like the vintage and design community. I definitely feel like since purchasing my Spanish style house, I've kind of also been gearing a lot of the decor in the style of this home in more of a Westerny way. Even this credenza that I have right here, even though it is a French credenza, I feel like in my home, because it is Spanish, it almost leans a little bit Westerny, a little Western influence, which I love. I think pillows might have some Navajo inspired patterns on the edges, trimmings, accents, a lot of little elements that feel more Western inspired. Moving into our second trend, this one's kind of a little bit more cleaner and polished than our first, and this one's actually just the tone of silver. And when I talk about silver, I'm talking about this in every single facet, whether it comes to hardware, accent tables, decor pieces, lamps. I also do feel like we're leaning a little bit away from the high shine chrome and kind of going a little bit more into a matted silver finish, but not like a brushed nickel, kind of like more of an aluminum, a pewter, something that feels a little more natural and not polished. Silver is just beautiful in interiors because it reflects light. It kind of feels a bit futuristic as well. So when you pair it with elements that might feel vintage or older, it creates a beautiful juxtaposition, and that's really nice, kind of creates tension in your design. I also feel like chrome and silver has this very high glam vibe to it, which I love. I think that this year we're definitely gonna be seeing these spaces that feel very high glam, but they're done in a way that is very, very tasteful. It's not like a Z Gallery colory high glam, if that makes sense, like crystals and black and gray. It's definitely like a tasteful, warm, high glam, just very luxe feeling space, but it doesn't have to cost a ton. It's just about mixing materials in a way that create that mood and that essence of like the 70s or just a high glam period of time. Throughout 2023, I definitely started injecting a bunch more silver and kind of pulling away a little bit more on the brass and copper. However, I'm someone that loves to mix metals, so you'll find me using all of them all the time, but silver is a favorite of mine at the moment, and I definitely think it's a metal that we're going to be seeing more of throughout 2025. This third element that I think we're going to be seeing a bunch of in design this year is actually glass, and it kind of channels back to that high glam vibe. I feel like people are really playing with light now in interior design and playing with ways to incorporate pieces that reflect light beautifully and shine light in different directions and create like different visual light shows almost in your home and throughout video and photography that's shared across social media, which is where I know a lot of us get our inspiration from. And I feel like glass is definitely like one of the materials people love to use when it comes to light. I think we're going to be seeing a bunch more glass decor, whether it be vases, sculptures. Even when it comes to dinnerware, I think glass plates, crystal plates, things that reflect, feel a little bit romantic, kind of glamorous. Glass kind of plays with that. The fluted glass right now is also really beautiful. We're also deterring just a little bit from clear glass, and we're also seeing really beautiful shades of smoked glass and amber glass and glasses that just have more of a warmer or more of an approachable kind of feel, because sometimes it's just not nice having a glass top on a coffee table. I'm just not a personal fan of glass tops. However, a smoked glass top on like a console table is really beautiful. So something I notice all the time too is if you're a big thrifter or antique shopper like I am, whenever you go to these thrift or antique shops, there's always one or two booths that are full of those glassware pieces. And I feel like for so many years, like we passed those booths up, but now I feel like it's going to be like the era where a lot of people are gonna start selling and looking for those types of pieces. There's even frosted glass, etched glass, there's tons of different glass. Stained glass as well is absolutely huge right now in the design world. I feel like we're gonna start seeing more of that. It's just kind of hard to incorporate because stained glass is an older technique, and when you find someone to create you stained glass nowadays, it's very pricey, so incorporating it in the terms of home decor like a stained glass door or window can be very costly. However, it's super, super beautiful and kind of sought after right now in interior design. Making our way into our fourth, and this is a trend that I have always kind of followed. I feel like I'm always one to look for one of a kind and bespoke lighting, especially in my house, because when I purchased this home, I will be completely honest with you guys, I walked through this house and was like, wow, I don't really like some of these light fixtures. Actually, I didn't like a majority of them, but when I found out they were original to the house, it made me appreciate them so much more. And now pieces that I actually didn't like that much are my absolute favorite light fixtures in the home over pieces that I've paid like thousands of dollars for, you know? So I think nowadays with how much social media we're seeing, how much influencer and affiliate links are kind of pushed on you from Amazon and different websites, from different content creators, because that really is everyone's job as a content creator. We start seeing a lot of the same lighting and a lot of the same lamps and a lot of the same chandeliers hanging in people's dining rooms and the same kind of Sputnik style, like mid-century light. And I feel like now everyone's kind of craving this individual lighting game in their home. And I love that because I feel like lighting is almost like jewelry. You have a lamp over on the table and that's a ring. And then you have two sconces on the side of your bed and those are the earrings. And then you have a pendant light or a chandelier and that's the necklace. You don't want your jewelry to feel like everyone else's. I feel like now we're seeing so much more vintage, unique, bespoke, one-of-a-kind lighting. And that doesn't have to mean it costs a lot. Again, this just means you might go out to a thrift store, an antique shop, and just find something a little bit different than what you're seeing on Target's website or on Amazon's website. There definitely are some lighting styles that have been just so oversaturated in the industry, and I feel like it's almost deterred people from wanting to buy lights that are mass produced. It just kind of feels more special to purchase a lamp that might be vintage or a piece that might be vintage, and I feel like that's not the case when it comes to like a sofa, for example. Like people love purchasing new sofas and accent chairs and coffee tables and such, but lighting's an area where I feel like some people splurge more, they're open to getting vintage pieces, and they want those. So I think throughout this next year, we're gonna be seeing a lot more unique, one-of-a-kind lighting, even from manufacturers. I think we're gonna start seeing pieces that were like, whoa, like I did not expect this brand to come out with this light, but I'm kind of loving it. So I think we're gonna have a lot more fun with lighting this year. This fifth trend is actually one that I am so excited about, and you guys are gonna hear why in just a second here, but it's also one that I saw across multiple publications, Architectural Digest, House Beauty, beautiful that talked about how antiques in 2025 are going to be in abundance, which I love because ever since purchasing this house, and it's crazy because before buying this home, I really was not into vintage. I was not into antiques. I'd never stepped foot into an antique shop before. I might purchase like a vintage thing here or there at the thrift store, but never to the extreme to where I now have an entire online vintage store and just got a 2,000 square foot space the other day that I shared with you, where I'm going to be storing all these pieces at, and it's just become such a humongous facet of my life. Like, I just see myself in the future, you guys, when I'm like 40 or 50 having an antique shop. That is going to be me. I'm just letting you all know. So, you know, I'm excited about this trend, and it kind of touches back on what I was saying in the previous one, how a lot of people are just seeing the mass production of so many like very typical pieces across the board from so many people. And I think that people are now appreciating and wanting pieces that feel older, that have that handmade quality and character, that might be signed by somebody that's just different than what everyone else has. And that's something you can easily find in vintage and antique. And again, that's something that does not have to cost a lot. Now, if you're going to websites that have curated vintage and antique that have done all the work kind of for you, that's gonna cost a lot. But if you go out on your own to flea markets, thrift stores, antique shops are not always expensive, you guys. Like, you could find deals in an antique shop, especially an antique mall, because if you didn't know, almost every antique mall, the vendors themselves make the prices. So each person is pricing their items individually. It's not like set prices from the company, so you kind of know the streamlined price. Like, someone could be selling an item for $15 and then another person could be selling that same item in their booth for $1,000, and it's just, that's kind of how it works. You just never know what you can stumble upon when you're out thrifting or looking for vintage and antique. But I definitely feel like in every realm of design, from furniture to lighting to decor to like just everything, people are definitely shopping vintage, which makes me so happy. I love vintage. It's also super sustainable. Like, there's so much stuff on our planet. Do we really need new items? Like, there's so much beautiful stuff. We just need to use it all, right? And just combining pieces from different eras to create really rich and beautiful interiors, it just creates warmth. It also just kind of adds a little bit of depth to your space as well. And a lot of times older pieces have charm to them. They have more of a patinaed finish on them. They might be a little bit more rustic or rusted or imperfect, but that adds a nice little charm that you're not gonna find in something that's bought right off the shelf that just looks perfect from the manufacturer. So I just think we're definitely gonna be seeing a lot more vintage and antique this year. Our sixth trend is actually overflowing from last year, and I also feel like kind of from 2023, and this is color drenching. But at the same time, I almost feel like color drenching is kind of moving out of the realm of being a trend, and it's kind of just becoming more of a staple thing to do, because I just feel like whenever you're able to color drench a room, it really creates and makes the room look so much more expensive, so much more impactful, because if you do not pick the colors and do them right, like in terms of baseboard, trim, which there are so many people that can do that right. However, I don't feel super confident sometimes in that. So sometimes it's nice to just color drench. You have your baseboards, your doors, your trim, your ceiling, all the same color, and it instantly creates like a elevated, streamlined, and just clean look. Whereas if you do go in and you want your trim a different color and your walls a different color and your ceiling a different color, if you're not choosing everything right, it could end up not looking that great in the end. I also feel like color drenching is most effective when you do dark or moody colors. Not saying it's not effective when you don't, but you can really see the impact and like the intensity of color drenching when you have a space that might be like my movie room downstairs, for example. We did that Rojo Maroon kind of maroon brown color on all the walls and the ceiling, and it created such impact in that room. Like, if I just did a white ceiling in there, I feel like it would have kind of cut it off. And this room is sort of a movie theater style space, so I love what we were able to do in this room. Oddly enough, I don't think that there's any other rooms in my house that are color drenched. The breakfast nook used to be until I did the stripes on it. All around, we are definitely going to be seeing color drenching throughout this next year. Color drenching really eliminates contrast, so you don't have like differentiations between the ceiling and the wall or whatever it is in the space, the doors and the wall. It's really when you're painting everything the same. That kind of creates more of like almost a cocoon, kind of cozy feeling, just all tied together sort of vibe, if that makes sense. So color drenching is gonna be a fun one. I kind of wanted to touch on the wood tone. I feel like we're gonna be seeing a lot of this year. And now this isn't necessarily a trend, but I do feel like oak and like more of a warm / neutralized oak is going to be the hottest like wood color, very medium tone. So not too dark, not super light. I think we're definitely steering away from light wood and going more medium dark at the moment. But currently throughout 2025, I feel like we're gonna be seeing a lot of grainy oaks. Like I think wood grain is going to be very prominent as well. This past year, we've been seeing some kind of like plywood. Oak has such a beautiful grain. It's also found and was created in a lot of vintage pieces as well. So I feel like a lot of vintage credenzas and pieces you might see that have that warm kind of medium tone finish to them are in oak wood. And it's just kind of the preference I've been going for lately. And also what I've been seeing a lot of designers use when it comes to laying hardwood floors or putting beams in the ceiling. They're really not going too dark with it or too light. It's very medium, it's very warm, but it's not too warm where it's like a honey oak or like, you know, that kind of like yellowy. It's more of like an ashy warm oak tone, which is so pretty, but you just want to make sure that you sample it in your space because everyone's rooms and everyone's house has different lighting in it. So you just want to make sure that the color you're selecting for your home is perfect. In my 2024 trends video, I talked about how pattern play was going to be a huge trend, and that is absolutely the case for 2025 as well. I feel like we kind of dabbled in it in 2024, and now people are taking it to the extreme when it comes to pattern play. And I feel like we have some great designers to thank for this, such as Heidi Callier. She has done so much beautiful, beautiful work that has gone so viral. She has a beautiful book that came out, but her work and the amount of work that she turns over is honestly unreal because every single space feels so bespoke. It has so much pattern mixing, so much color mixing, and just personality. And it's crazy how each of them just feels so well done and like tied together and just finished, if that makes sense. But people like her have definitely influenced so many to start incorporating more patterns and playing around with it. And I think a great and easy way to sort of do this is to start incorporating block prints in your designs because block prints are repetitive patterns that sort of make it a bit easier. It's not abstract where it's a little bit more hit or miss. A lot of block prints also come in more neutralized colors, so it's a great way to start introducing pattern into your spaces. I feel like we see a lot of block prints through like Studio McGee or Amber Interiors. They do such beautiful block printed textiles. But there are some designers and some people out there that can just master the mix of patterns and colors. This is definitely a trend that is not going to come super easy, I do feel. It's going to be a little bit more with trial and error. I kind of like to have the scale in my mind when I'm mixing patterns of something small scale, something large scale, something abstract, and a stripe. I feel like a stripe is always needed when you're mixing patterns. It kind of just adds in a little bit more of a solid, but it's not because it's a stripe, but it settles down the rest of your patterns a little bit. Anyways, we're gonna be seeing lots of patterns being mixed throughout this next year, and I'm excited to play around with it a little more. We have made it to our last trend, and this is another really cute trend. It's also one that's easy to incorporate. You could DIY this. I've actually DIY'd it once on the channel in the past when I did my little office makeover in my bedroom, and this is anything with a skirt. And I know that kind of sounds weird, like a skirt, but there's been some absolutely beautiful pieces of furniture that have come out lately that might have a pleated skirt on the bottom, a ruffled skirt on the bottom, and this is just furniture. But we've also been seeing this a lot in interior design from designers incorporating skirts over cabinets or underneath a sink in a bathroom to kind of hide that area, or incorporating it in a butler's pantry, or for example, how I did in my desk area. I just created two little curtains, but it's a way to incorporate pattern in a space and softness in a space where you would necessarily probably need cabinet doors. So that's what I really, really love about it. I also feel like Duval, who does the kitchens, does such a beautiful job at incorporating the skirt into a lot of their designs. And I feel like after their show came out on Magnolia, lots of people started pulling from that sort of British, sort of classic style that they have. And I love it. I think it is so charming, so cute. And it's also something you can DIY. So if you just need to cover something up, hide something, the bottom of a bookcase, whatever it is, the underside of a sink, creating a little skirt for it and just having it hang there in a cute little pattern fabric is all you need. Like, you don't need to go get a new cabinet doors or anything like that. I feel like people are trying to find places to like remove doors and add little skirts on because it's just such a cute accent. But you can definitely find this in furniture on like the bottom of a slipper chair or on a sofa. There's some very beautiful skirted furniture pieces out there. I've also seen benches as well, so there's a lot of options. Alrighty, I think I've been sitting here for over an hour blabbering on and on, so this is gonna be a fun one to edit, but I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. And if you feel like there's going to be any extra trends, which there definitely are going to be, because sometimes trends just kind of pop up throughout the year, feel free to leave them in the comment section below, because I'm someone that loves to know about everything, and then I'll choose my favorites, or like, I just like to know about things, you know? So let's have a conversation down there, and do not forget to, of course, also subscribe to my channel if you are not already. I post brand new home decor and DIY content every single week here on Lone Fox. And yeah, if you saw anything in this video that you also liked, I will link it in the description box for you, of course. And yeah, let's have a very beautiful 2025. Bye guys.